and special thanks to United Sikhs for having me here. I want to first commend Hansdeep and Ilana for the fantastic job they did, along with so many others, on this report. I've already referred the report to several media outlets in media calls that I've had since it's come out, and I expect to do so a great deal in the coming year. Reports like these advance the cause of human rights and civil liberties and religious freedom immensely. One of the creeds of my organization, the ACLU, is that eternal vigilance is the price of liberty. And a crucial component of that vigilance is public education, of which this report, I think, is a prime example. And this is particularly true now. And the report in the foreword makes this point, and each of our speakers has made this point. We are living in a time where religious liberty is under heightened attack from those who would marginalize anyone with a belief or appearance different from their own. And unfortunately, this is something that for the Sikh community is the result of the all too common intersection between bigotry and ignorance. They usually go hand in hand. But things have gotten worse, and I fear they're going to get worse still, at least in the States, with the coming presidential election cycle in 12. So I think we should all prepare for that and brace ourselves for that. But reports like these help put us on guard to fight against that. I think this report is great. I was just saying to Ilana that any one of these issues in any one of these countries could fill a 150-page report, and so the nature of this endeavor is such that it's difficult to get every detail out there, and yet it seems that there are so many here in this report, and a lot of the issues that are touched upon are then very well sourced, so that for those who want to learn more, they can within a given country, within a given issue. My organization, for those who don't know, is the ACLU. We are one of the largest, oldest civil rights and civil liberties organizations in the U.S. We've been working to protect religious liberty, among other things, for over 80 years in this country. We fight for the right of all faiths, majority and minority alike, to practice freely and openly, without government interference, favoritism, or penalty. Many times throughout our history, the ACLU has struggled on behalf of the rights of Sikhs across the U.S., supporting, among other things, the ability of Sikh employees to work in the public and private sector free from discrimination or stigma, the right of Sikh children to attend public school wearing kirpan or other articles of faith without being singled out, punished, or bullied, the simple ability of world-renowned Sikh musicians to board and remain on an airplane. I can't believe that's actually an example, but I'm sure most of you know that. The basic right of a Sikh citizen to appear in court wearing the star without being ejected and threatened with arrest, as what happened in Texas, for refusing to obey a judge's order to remove what the judge referred to as his hat. Now, as the Global Report notes, the U.S. has also been criticized from a number of fronts for the conditions of its prisons and its jails and its immigration detention centers. And indeed, Dostoevsky famously noted that the degree of civilization in society can be judged by entering its prisons. And it's against that backdrop that I want to just briefly describe the case of Sukhjinder Basra, our most recent litigation brought to protect Sikh religious liberty in the United States. Mr. Basra is an inmate in a minimum security prison facility in San Luis Obispo, California. He's been a devout Sikh his entire life. And while in prison, he's been a model prisoner. He was never disciplined for his unshorn beard or for any other reason. During his one-year stay at a more restrictive prison, he was then transferred to a much less restrictive prison where he is now. He was transferred to this current facility in February of last year, where he's given more freedom because he, along with his fellow prisoners, are viewed as much less of a threat. So, unlike before, and unlike in many other prisons around this country, he lives in an unlocked 90-person dorm room. He has more privileges, more yard time, basically more liberty across the board. But the prison officials in California decided, after he moved to this new facility, that they were going to enforce a statewide prison policy, which is a ban on prisoners wearing any facial hair that is greater than 1/2 inch. And I'm sure you can imagine how that would be a problem for a devout Sikh. Now, Mr. Basra explained the basic concept of Kesh and his religious obligations to prison officials to no avail. Now, never mind that this same prison system, the California state system, had already thrown out a grooming policy as a result of losing lawsuits brought by someone of Native American faith who had long hair and sued and prevailed in federal court. Never mind that the hair length policy was thrown out by California. Never mind that Mr. Basra himself had never had any problems whatsoever, either in his prior facility or in his current facility. Never mind any of that. They still insisted on enforcing this policy against him. And of course, he refused to cut his beard. So they punished him. They punished him in a number of ways. They gave him extra work duty. They gave him a loss of good time credits. They put him in an additional 10 days of confinement to quarters, so he had to stay in his room. All of this to punish him for the simple act of expressing who he is. Now at that point we stepped in, the National ACLU where I work, along with the ACLU of Southern California and the Sikh Coalition, and we sued. Unfortunately, that's what you have to do sometimes when governments drag their feet. So we sued the prison, and we also sued the California State Department of Corrections last month, in late February. Now we are hoping not only to secure the rights of Mr. Basra, both to get his record expunged and to have his right to Kesh, but also to get the policy changed, not only at this prison, but across the board in the state. We are suing under a very helpful law that was passed in the United States about 10 years ago, RLUIPA, which stands for the Religious Land Use and Institutionalized Persons Act, and it gives heightened protection for religious exercise in prisons in the U.S. Now, many other prisons across the country have good policies on this particular issue, including the federal government. The Federal Bureau of Prisons allows this sort of thing. And so, helpfully, the federal government stepped in and intervened to support our case. So the Department of Justice has intervened in our case. The law, as you may have read in the report, and you can go back and look, is not great on this issue in many parts of the country, in many state facilities across the country. The law on facial hair and the like and other grooming policies is bad and takes no account of religious exercise. But luckily, the law actually out west in the Ninth Circuit, which governs a number of states out west, including California, is quite good. So, as a result, we are optimistic. We're quite optimistic. We are hopeful for our chances of victory, and we're hopeful for a quick victory. And I'll close right now, and obviously we can open this more into discussion, but I'm hoping that things will be favorably resolved in time for the next report, so within the year. So hopefully I can have better things to tell you.